Good morning. Welcome to your card of the day for Sunday the 16th or Monday the 17th of March, depending on what side of the date line you're on. Our card of the day today is Trust Your Innocence. Now, the key words for this card are truth, trusting yourself, being real with people, knowing the difference between intuition and paranoia, uncensored feelings, and returning to innocence. Returning to innocence is returning to that childhood joy, that childhood way of seeing the world. When we were children, we saw things from that totally innocent perspective, that perspective of where everything was magical and wonderful. So sometimes it can be difficult for us to actually be able to differentiate between our intuition and just, our ego mind talking to us. We have stories, we have projections, we have expectations, and even fear can sometimes be mistaken for intuition. The best way to distinguish that true inner guidance from paranoia is a return to innocence, to our pure essence. Because in our pure essence, we have access to the real truth of our being, of who we really are. So one question we can ask ourselves is, what were the very first feelings or visions you had when you considered the question that you're asking yourself at the moment? Before you second guess yourself, the very first impressions. How does it feel in your body when you're truly honest with yourself? If we can go beyond the paradigms that we believe about ourselves, when some of the logical thinking falls away, what's left? What are the answers that are left behind? Because logical thinking is the opposite to intuition. If we think about, when you ask a young child a question, they don't censor their answers. Sometimes the answers are hilarious, aren't they, when you ask a child a question? Oh boy, what they can come out with can be quite funny. And the honesty is not always thought polite or very well socialised, and they sometimes get told off by adults for poor manners. And it often is quite funny because they are so blunt. It's their truth. And it's really interesting to take notice of just how intuitive children are. So one way to tell the difference between intuition and just this monkey mind chatter that goes on, we can learn to recognize that clear instinctive yes and that distinctive no. And in order to be able to discern between them, we first of all need to trust ourselves. And the underlying of that self-trust is honesty. We need to be, it's important to be completely honest with ourselves. Until we're completely honest with ourselves, we can't be honest with others, and we won't trust ourselves. We have to be honest about what feels good, what feels true, what feels real, and what doesn't. It's very easy to get caught up on the paradigm of what we believe, rather than our inner knowing. Honesty's, it's not just not lying to yourself. There's a double negative there, and that's not good. Honesty's more. Honesty goes beyond not just not lying to yourself. It's also not bypassing information. It's about not burying stuff so that you don't have to look at it. Honesty is having a deep transparency within yourself. Some people describe the intuitive yes as a softening rather than a feeling of tightening, contracting, or avoidance. That feeling of avoidance and contraction is a no. It is not a yes. And to stay on our optimal path, trusting our original innocence or instincts is key. Trust your innocence. So the divinatory meaning of this card, of this young lass with the beautiful big eyes, the silver hair, hibiscus flowers and a star. Learn to trust your inner sense or your intuition, your inner knowing. This card's encouraging you to be absolutely honest with yourself, to let go, to release any of the stories that you told about yourself and all the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and hear in your heart, listen and honor the answers that come from your heart. There's a possibility this card is flagging the fact that it's important right now to be truthful with another person, to tell the truth. Because relationships, the deepening of relationships relies on being real with each other. You can't reach a true connection with another person without being real and honest. That doesn't mean you be blunt. Still think about your timing and be considerate. But this card is saying now is a time for truths. We can tell the truth with grace. It's not necessary to tell the truth with brutality. We can tell it with grace. Especially if we think about it first. Sometimes in the heat of an argument, the truth can be a little blunt. If you're feeling a bit hot under the collar, we are trying to move beyond that, but we're human. It's important to not beat yourself up if you falter. As long as your intention is honesty and grace, as long as you come from your heart, we'll all make mistakes along the way. It's the human condition. There's nobody who is perfect. Just being reminded of something the Dalai Lama says. Being a Buddhist, he's not allowed to kill anything. But he doesn't very much like mosquitoes. So when he finds himself needing to dispatch of a mosquito, as he does so, he blesses it by saying, be a butterfly. Because of course Buddhists believe in reincarnation. So he's blessing the mosquito to come back as a butterfly. So if some of our highest leaders highest is the wrong word, most honoured leaders who we look up to because of their immense depth of grace are still human. It's okay to be human. We can't bypass that. And if you think that you can just be in love and light and sweetness and all the time, it's not possible. That's not the human condition. That's not this reality. That's bypassing. Being in love and light all the time is just spiritual bypassing. This card is talking about trusting in your innocence, being honest with yourself and dealing with those shadows that came up yesterday in yesterday's card. To not suppress them, to allow them, to honour them, and then release them. Okay. No, there's nothing more to say. May you have a truly blessed day, and I shall see you tomorrow morning. Good night.